Katharina Perreira is a freelance midwife in Berlin. For 17 years, she helped women give birth, but she's no longer willing to put up with the working conditions. Hospitals are closing their delivery rooms and midwives are quitting. Those who remain are overworked.
As midwives, we no longer want to work in delivery rooms and care for 4 to 5 women at once, because we can't assure the well-being of mother and child.
Gucken und müssen erstmal realisieren, okay, jetzt ist es da. Ja? Die Hebamme wird auf alle Fälle das Baby mit Handtüchern abdecken.
This prenatal class in Berlin is for parents expecting their second child. Here, Katharina Perreira imitates contractions.
Okay. 3 Wehen.
Okay, 3 contractions.
Wie war's für die Frauen?
How was it for the women?
Erinnerungen werden wach.
Brings back memories.
Konntet ihr aber noch mal hören, dass
But I hope you could hear that the contractions are very different. They always are. No one contraction is the same as another.
Nicht eine Wehe ist wie die andere. Und wenn ihr eine starke Wehe
The midwife knows that such classes are more important than ever in Germany because many children come into the world in difficult conditions. In many places, there's a shortage of midwives. Yet it's freelance midwives like Katharina who care for women and their babies before and after childbirth. And midwives employed in hospitals work in a high-stress environment. That's why Katharina has changed her courses in recent years. Not only does she help expectant parents prepare for the birth of their child both physically and mentally, but also
I tell them about the situation in the hospitals, that one midwife must often care for 3 or 4 women at once, and I try to strengthen the women, give them a good sense of physical awareness, so they'll get through the birth okay.
Was wir zum Beispiel bei Hausgeburten machen, wenn wir
For example, at a home birth,
haben
if we
wollen,
want
wenn
to
wir wollen,
trigger
dass das Kind,
contractions
sich
or
richtig,
optimize the
richtig
child's
oder dass wir die
position,
Kindslage optimieren,
then I tell a
dann würde ich
woman
auch einer Frau
to
sagen,
lie
dass
like
sie sich mal
this.
so hinlegen soll unter der Geburt. Wenn sie sich nämlich ganz klein
Katharina
macht,
helped to deliver children for 17 years. But recently, she decided to only do pre- and antenatal care and to give classes. It wasn't an easy decision to make. She knows how hard it is for parents to find a midwife.
The rejections were always the same. We have no capacity, no places free this summer. And we started looking quite early. We looked for 2 or 3 months. When my first child was born 8 years ago, it wasn't such a problem, but now it really is.
Hallo Baby. Na, kleine Maus,
Hello,
letztes Mal warst du
baby.
so aktiv?
Hey, little one, last time you were so active. Let's see if you react to my hands that way again.
Also,
So
Rücken
the
immer noch
back
schön
is still
hier
here
auf der
on this
Seite.
side.
Samantha McAnuff is expecting her 3rd child, and Katharina is caring for her during her pregnancy.
Größe her würde ich sagen.
She'll also be present at the birth, but only to provide emotional support, as a friend.
Ich glaube, ich möchte
I think I'd
gerne
only return to assisting with deliveries if I had a really good idea of how I could work in a team outside a hospital
klinisch
and not be on constant call.
kann und nicht auf Dauerrufbereitschaft ist. Super.
Babies come into the world at any time of the day or night, so these midwives are on call 24/7. But having to be available all the time wreaked havoc on her family life.
Wunderbar.
Wonderful, good heart rate,
Schöne Herzchen.
just as it should be.
So wie es sein soll.
Freelance midwives pay high liability insurance premiums. That's also another thing preventing Katharina from returning to delivering babies.
The biggest hurdle I would face if I went back to delivering babies next year would be, where would I get the 6,000 or 7,000 euros to pay for liability insurance? Because I need that before I could return. And I think that's also the biggest problem facing young midwives who've just finished training.
Freelance midwives who assist at births face skyrocketing costs for liability insurance. They can now expect to pay over 8,000 euros a year. And Katharina says, even if they are partly reimbursed, midwives aren't paid enough for their work.
Super. Alles wunderbar.
It makes me really angry because we simply aren't paid for the responsibility that we have. That's what I think is so awful. It's also a matter of appreciation.
Samantha thinks her midwife is irreplaceable.
You're just closer to your midwife. How should I put it? You're closer to her than to your gynecologist. You can talk to her about things you wouldn't with a gynecologist because she doesn't have the time.
Katharina says that midwives take the time, even if they're not always paid for it. That's a situation Katharina is no longer willing to accept. So she's organized a protest.
I'm one of the many midwives who aren't willing to accept the status quo anymore. We founded a group called Midwife Rebels.
One thing the Midwife Rebels criticize, hospitals often close their delivery rooms due to a lack of personnel and turn away women in labor.
That's frustrating enough. Then, when a woman in labor has finally found a hospital to take her, she may have to live with the fact that her midwife is looking after 3 or 4 other women at the same time. So she won't receive adequate care. That can lead to lots of medical interventions, a high rate of cesarean sections, and women who are traumatized by the birth. We're no longer willing to accept that. I wish you lots of children, lots of strength, and don't put up with anything. I'd like to protest at Alexanderplatz, or 2 or 3 big squares in Berlin, with a sound truck, good music, and just read off the things with a live stream on Facebook.
The things are postcards from the Midwife Rebels' latest protest campaign. People across Germany send postcards to Germany's health minister complaining about the lack of midwives, closed delivery rooms, and overworked birth attendants. Katharina and her freelance colleagues are also suffering from the crisis in the hospitals.
If women don't receive good care in hospital, freelance midwives almost always have to make up for this at home. That didn't used to be the case. I'm not bashing the hospitals. The midwives there do what they can. But often, it's just not enough. Consider how important this is. We're not talking about removing a wart. We're talking about the birth of a child.
The Midwife Rebels' demands are clear. They want a political solution to fix Germany's catastrophic birthing system.
We don't need high-tech. We need well-rested midwives who like their work, and enough of them in the places babies are born. That's it.
Could you call someone in?
Samantha Mekanoff is about to give birth, and she's lucky to have a well-rested midwife at her side. Although Katharina can't do much more than help her get through the contractions, one of the hospital midwives bears all of the medical responsibility. A short while later, Anne Marley is born. Both mother and child are well. 8 days later, Katharina visits Samantha Mekanoff and her baby each day. She checks on them both and answers any questions the new mother might have.
$2,720 grams.
Today, Katharina has brought an apprentice along. Sayira Sadowski wants to become a midwife. She wants to get an impression of what the job's like and hear how Anne Marley's birth went.
I absolutely wanted Katharina to be there. I knew someone I trusted was there, that we could do it, that I didn't need to be afraid because I'd had problems with the birth of my first child. I had no reason to be afraid. And she was there to really help me relax.
Sie konnte mich runterbringen, so dass ich tiefenentspannt bin.
Anne Marley's birth also made it clear to Katharina what she's been missing.
I want to do births again because I love births. It was a real gift for me to be present at one again after 1.5 years. It was like, it just rounded everything off.
But first, she has to find out how to better reconcile her own family life with her chosen profession. Until then, she'll be dedicating much of her time to the fight for better obstetrical care in Germany.
We must ensure that women in hospitals get one-to-one care. They have a right to it. I think midwives also have a right to work solely on a one-to-one basis. If we midwives join forces, the colleagues in the hospitals who do incredible work and the freelance midwives, then I think we can do it. We've never had a better standing in society than we do now, and now is the right time to say, stop, this can't go on. We want this, these are our demands, and we simply won't work under any other conditions. And I think that's possible.
All of that doesn't frighten Sayira Sadowski. She sees it as a challenge.
Because it's so difficult right now and there are so many problems, you have to consciously choose to do it. We won't get far if we always take another path when a problem arises. So I'm really looking forward to being active and taking part.
That brings tears to my eyes. Come here, Sayira. Yes, we need people like you.
Sayira Sadowski's desire to become a midwife gives Katharina Perreira hope that her fight for better obstetrical care in Germany will succeed.
Nur Ikibu nicht. Wenn du die mal wiedersehen würdest, ich glaube, dann würdest